That's Kevin.
And that's Damon. And we're implicitly biased.
All right, we're going to do part 2 of our famous people that you'd like to meet. We already did the living famous people that you'd like to meet. Now we're going to do the dead famous people that you'd like to meet.
You go first.
Me go first. All right. So, starting with number 5. In honor of his day that recently just passed, and because I still would like to actually meet him, I'm going to go with Dr. Martin Luther King, the Jr., and for obvious reasons. I mean, I don't know how.
For obvious reasons, like when you're watching a horror movie and there's a black guy in it, he's the first one to die. So that's the first one you got to meet as a black guy?
He wasn't the first one to die. I don't know if you know anything about history.
In horror movies, the black guy's the first to die.
No,
unless there's a fat guy.
No, here lately, they've gotten a lot better, and they've realized that they've been doing that for years, and now he's at least the second or third person.
Yeah, because the fat guy always gets killed.
Now, but I mean, at least the black people aren't anymore.
Yeah.
Unless you're a fat black guy, then
then you're doubly screwed.
Then you're really screwed. What does that have to do with Martin Luther King?
Because he's my number 1 too.
Oh.
Or my number 5.
Well, either way. Well, then we can just have a little quick,
Let's do it.
We'll just have a little real quick. For the obvious reasons, he's the one who set black people free.
Wait a minute. Harriet Tubman was way before him.
No. He's the one who set black people free. Doesn't matter about the Emancipation Proclamation. Doesn't matter about any of the other stuff. Martin Luther King set black people free.
Okay.
All right.
I like him. I want to meet him because he was actually one of the very big supporters of the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
And saying that if they didn't have guns to protect themselves, they were going to get hurt by the Ku Klux Klan and all of the other ones.
Well, let me throw some poop out there. So, do you feel the same way about Malcolm X?
I honestly don't know enough about Malcolm X to say anything about Malcolm X.
He said, by any means necessary. In other words, he was more of an eye for an eye. You going to hit us with some billy clubs, we going to hit y'all with some billy clubs. You shoot at us, we shoot at you. And he was essentially, I guess I can't say that because Farrakhan is probably the one who killed him. But he's basically like the Farrakhan of his day. White people were about as scared of him as they are about Farrakhan today. So he has that same kind of, they were in the same, they were taught by the same teacher. Mm-hmm. He left the Nation of Islam, and many people believe that Farrakhan put a hit out on him because he was killed by black folks and so forth. After Farrakhan did a rousing speech about killing traitors. Okay. So, but my question is, Martin Luther King was more of a nonviolent approach, even though he supported the Second Amendment. Would you still feel that way for somebody who supported the Second Amendment but who had more of a violent approach?
I in general don't like violence, but in y'all's history, violence was brought before. So it becomes a point of, if he's violent to innocent people, I'm not down with it.
Right.
But if he's violent towards people attacking him, that's protecting yourself. Right. And I kind of think that's why I like Martin Luther. I'd like to pick his brain about it or whatever. He was on the peaceful side of things. He didn't want to start a war, but he was in a war.
Right.
And he was ready to do what he needed to do.
Right.
And then there's a whole other side that to prepare for peace, you have to be prepared for war and all that.
Well, I just like him because it was something, I don't remember the exact numbers, so anybody out there who knows the exact numbers, put them in the comments, but I don't want to hear about him other than that. But something like he graduated from high school at 13 or 14, and then he got his doctorate degree at 26 or something like that. And I'm like, dude, anybody back then when education wasn't really readily available to black people at all, for somebody to be such a brilliant mind to get your doctorate degree at 26 back. I mean, we hear about it now, but we have free education. We have people that, it's easy to do it now compared to what it was then. And so for him to have, those kind of credentials, and then, when he was in jail, when he the letters from a Birmingham jail, he did all that from memory. Like he was quoting Gandhi, and he was quoting. I mean, all that stuff was in his mind, and he was quoting those individuals verbatim.
Yeah.
He didn't have books or thesauruses or Google or anything like that to reference when he was writing those letters. And I mean, and it's one of the best books that there are that came from that time period. And he did it while he was in jail from his memory. Like that's pretty impressive.
Pretty awesome.
You know, and I don't know. I mean, like I said, obvious reasons, and I probably should go in more depth about other things. But we're gonna move on. So that was our number five. My number 4 was Ozzy Davis. I know you have no clue.
I have no clue who that is.
That's a crying shame.
I only know one Ozzy,
and his name is Osborne. Ozzy Davis, and again, I think this another one of those things where it highlights our different perspectives. Ozzy Davis is an old actor. Him and his wife were married young. They had like one of the a ridiculously long marriage, like 50-something years. But they were both in Hollywood. They were both good actors, and they were like the they were like the Jay and Beyonce of like the 50s or whatever. And just his filmography is pretty good. I mean, it isn't something that you wouldn't shake a stick. I mean, it's pretty good. He's one of those people who got more prominent roles later on in life than he did when he was younger, even though he played in stuff when he was younger. But he's another one who has one of those amazing voices that you ever watched the movie Dinosaur from I think it's Disney and Pixar? Dinosaur, the one with the Aladar and all them.
I think so.
Okay, well, he was the monkey dad in that. The guy who like the lemur dad.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I figured that was something that you could actually know, so you could kind of get an idea of his voice. But anyways, there's some people out there who would know who Ozzy Davis is.
Absolutely.
And I'm telling you, he's just somebody who I think I would like to meet. I would like to talk to him. Again, he just has he's like a James Earl Jones. He has that voice that when you hear that voice, you're like, oh, that's him. He's amazing. When you get home tonight, look him up.
Oh, I will.
And just listen to him talk. He has an amazing voice, an amazing presence. But that's it.
Okay. My number 4 is going to be Nikola Tesla.
Yes.
Playing on Nikola Tesla. You're right. Nikola. There's no S there. That's right. But playing off of the live guy on the last one, Elon, and his inspiration, just the dude, what he came up with.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing. And if it hadn't be for whatever powers it be that put him down, I think the whole society would be completely changed.
God, yeah. If he had the connections and the friends and the people in his corner that Edison had, the United States would have been, we were head and shoulders at that time above pretty much every other nation, but the gap would have been 3 times further.
Oh, absolutely.
If he had the support that Edison had, and it's sad that the greed of men and the money and all that plays such a big role in his demise and him basically dying poor and broke and everything.
Yep.
But man, what an amazing mind. I mean, I didn't think about it at the time, but he would definitely be on my list too of top 5 dead people that to meet, because just the brilliance that radiated off of him. I mean,
well, because of his studies and what he did, he was able to do it back then, and we really haven't been able to duplicate it.
Right.
Because there was something so great in his thinking and his way of doing things. So
I mean, he's one of those kind of people we could say like he's using both sides of his brain.
Yeah. Because
the stuff that he I think I sent you a video the other night of somebody trying to duplicate one of the things that he did. I think it was like back in the 40s or 30s. I don't know how, and they're trying to duplicate it and understand it even today. I mean, we're in 2020. And people are still trying to understand something 80, 90 years later that he thought of years ago. I mean, he's amazing. He really is. And he would be on my list if it wasn't for this next guy.
Who's that?
You don't like him, but I don't care. Okay? All right?
Shoot.
His name is Mohandas K. Gandhi. I would love to meet Mahatma Gandhi.
When he was doing things he may or may not have been doing that he went to jail for.
Go ahead. I want to hear this. I want to hear the poop that you're going to spew.
I wasn't there. I can't say.
That's right. You weren't there.
Or not.
You don't know if he touched them or not. But what we do know that he did, he was an icon in his day.
He was.
But
so was Hitler.
Yeah, but Hitler. What? You're trying to say Hitler and Gandhi are the same?
Not at all. I'm just saying he was an icon. He was Times Person of the Year that year.
Who?
Hitler.
Yeah. Are you trying to say they're the same?
No, not at all. Because I don't think Gandhi was ever a Person of the Year.
Listen. I understand what you're saying. And if we're being honest, there is no major figurehead, and if that doesn't come with some level of smoke behind him, because nobody is the Lord Jesus H. Christ. Okay, he's the only one that doesn't come with any real smoke behind him, other than what people did around him. That's not him. So I get what you're saying, but if we're going to be honest, what we have to do with everybody, with every single person that there is, we have to weigh the good with the bad. And if we're going to weigh the good with the bad on Hitler, there's no good there. There's like the scale.
I mean, unless you talk about Volkswagen. They made some cool cars, but
Other than that, I mean, like literally, the scale is like one's on the bottom and the other. You know what I mean? Like
there's no denying that.
And so when you weigh the good with the bad on somebody like Gandhi, the scale tips the other way.
Yeah.
Like the one or two things we might be able to attribute to him being bad does not even come close to outweigh. I mean, if we did that with anybody, we would just wipe out all the good works that everybody has ever done. You know what I'm saying? If there's one little scar or mark on their feats of charity, then we should just wipe everybody out. So I get what you're saying. That there's a little controversy there.
There's a little gray area.
Did he sleep with naked nieces or whatever the thing is? Probably so. Did Martin Luther King have sex with another chick behind his wife? Probably so. I mean, we can go down a list of every person that we think as an amazing figurehead and an amazing leader of their time, and we can pick out something that we can say, oh, that really wasn't really good or whatever.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, I think this dude was amazing. What he was able to accomplish, taking a country that was under occupation and finding a way to peacefully as they could, get rid of the occupation of an oppressor, and then take a country that was literally being torn in three directions. And I mean, unfortunately, he wasn't successful as far as the Muslim and Hindu issues that they had. That's the reason we have Pakistan today and India. But Pakistan are just Indians who are believe in or who are Muslim. And so I get that he wasn't as successful, but what he was able to do, just being a guy who was determined to do the right thing for the most part, you got to love that. And his philosophies, I mean, he studied he studied 3 different religions and found a common denominator between all of them, which was basically love and loving your brother and caring for your neighbor. I mean, that's pretty impressive. You know what I mean? To study Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, and then say, all right, all 3 of these are all trying to focus on this one thing, and that's love and taking care of your neighborhood and the people around you, and trying to personify that. You got to admire that. If you don't admire that, then you don't have love. All right, that's mine. I'm sorry.
Okay. Don't be sorry for it. It's your implicit bias.
That's correct.
I can't take that away from you.
That's correct.
My number 3 is going to be Henry Ford. The company he created and then spawned so many generations onto making those better, faster, all that stuff. Just fantastic. And then when he first came out, it was to be like an everyman's car. But to do that, he had to cheap on some things. Like, you can have any color you want as long as it's black. Stuff like that. And then the assembly line process that he developed for it and everything else, just made cars what they are today. And without him taking the giant leaps that he did back then, I don't think the car industry would be anywhere to where it got now.
Well, if we're being, I wanted to, God dang, you messed up. You maybe missed my opportunity. I wanted to say he invented the cars, and then when you tried to correct me and say he didn't, I would say, nope, he invented the car, and you shut your mouth. But then it didn't work out that way. So, anyways, but no, if we're being fair, because of his innovation or his knowledge and foresight about the assembly line, literally manufacturing itself.
Yeah, not just cars.
Not just, yeah, I mean, we give credit to cars because his name is on the cars. But really, every manufacturing setup today that is modernized or that is successful are literally taking...
Literally contributions straight from that.
You know, I mean, if he was even more if he had even more foresight, he would have patented the concept if he could.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, if you want to do it in this, this way, I patent it and get the Ford Corporation gets a percentage off of that. Yeah. Because I'm telling you, literally everything from Amazon to, literally everything that we have uses a format passed down from him. Yep. And that's what I mean by when I say, we were already heads and shoulders above everywhere else in the world because of people like him. Now just imagine if it had been a thing like what Tesla was doing, and now not only do we have the assembly line, but now we have free energy to run the assembly line. Yeah. Can you imagine where we would be? We would be the one that's just distributing to everywhere in the world instead of having to do any imports because our stuff is cheap. It's easier to make. Yep. I don't know, but that's just my philosophy on it. But Henry Ford, that's pretty dope. All right, number 2. Are you ready?
Always.
Harriet Tubbs. You know who that is?
That's my girl.
You know who Harriet Tubbs is?
Yeah, I told her about it over here, remember?
You told me about
live people?
No, but see, you were saying that she freed black people. No, that was Martin Luther King freed all the black people. She just helped slaves run to the north.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like how long before Martin Luther King freed?
No, but he freed all the black people.
Oh, okay.
She's the one who just freed 300 or 400.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Like that's not a big
she's
deal.
Pretty dope.
No, but in all honesty, the movie came out recently, and the movie probably captures a good portion of it. But can you imagine, really imagine, when you're, what was it, maybe 60, 70 years ago, a female of any race was pretty close to being the bottom of the barrel. Yeah. Of any race. Mm-hmm. The female of any race she was disposable, she was property, she was basically valueless except for one or two things. Sexual things, procreation, and doing whatever the man said. So you have that against you. And then you have a female of the race that is the bottom race. Mm-hmm. That is the race that is literally the mule. That's literally the workhorse, the animal, the tractor, And so you have somebody who is literally the absolute bottom of society. The one that everybody tramples on, the one everybody, oh God, this sounds so bad, but it's true. The one everybody rapes, the one everybody abuses, the one everybody destroys. And for her to come from that and to become the most iconic person of her generation, wow.
That's pretty amazing.
You know what I mean? Wow, for her to do the things that she did just out of just sheer grit and determination, and obviously the blessing from God, and that those abilities that God gave her. But can you she is nothing in society. She has no rights. She has no value other than just to be a doormat for somebody. And for her to become literally the figurehead and of a movement, the figurehead of the Underground Railroad, to be the icon, and wow. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. How could you not? If I feel like on our previous video, how you were talking about George Lucas, you just want to be a fanboy. That would be one of those times I'd just be like, Miss Tubbs, listen, I know it's Tubman, but I want to call her Miss Tubbs. Miss Tubbs, I just want to give you a hug and and just shake your hand and just sit near you. Hopefully some of that that favor from God or whatever. I mean, I don't want to be running through the woods and dodging dogs, and I don't want any of that. But just the favor that God put on her is just amazing. So she's my number 2.
Number dos. My number 2 would be Theodore Roosevelt.
Theo.
Walk quietly and carry a big stick.
Theo. Teddy bear.
Yep. I mean, how can you not want to meet a dude who the teddy bear was named after?
Well, me personally, I don't want to meet him. He's kind of well known for being quite a bit of a racist.
He was, but if we're going to weigh the pros and cons again, he basically saved the country's natural resources.
Yes.
In the natural parks movement and all of that. And that's a huge thing.
Oh, it is. It really is. I agree with you on that.
It's some people have said, I've heard it, oh, he created the natural. No, he created boundaries where these areas would be protected.
Right.
The natural parks were starting to get ruined by the Industrial Revolution and just people encroaching on it. And he said,
stop.
We're not going to do that. We're going to save this because back then he saw how fast we were growing.
Right.
And we were just going to ruin everything that we touched.
Right.
So.
Question. I mean, his contribution was felt worldwide. I mean, we're the first country to have ever done that. And then we're the country that all other countries are like, oh, we're allowed to do that. We can set aside tracts of land that are just for, the conservation of nature. And so literally every country has that now, because of the trail that he blazed. But I'm going to be kind of the devil's advocate and kind of be a jerk right now. I'm 100% confident he didn't do that because he cared as much about the animals in there as he did as he wanted some place where he can go and kill them. Because he
was definitely a sportsman.
He was well known for. I mean, he bragged that he shot every animal there is to shoot in the world. I mean, I don't know how accurate that is, but he's bragged that he killed everything that there was to kill.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to take away from his legacy. I mean, his legacy is outstanding. But on the other hand, I'm like, I doubt he did it because he loved the cuddly bear so much.
I think he did it because he had the power to make his own personal game preserve over the entire country.
Exactly. And now he goes and, it's well known that he spent a decent chunk of his presidency on hunting trips and having fun. Another fun fact, he was also well known for having extremely ridiculously long speeches. And he had one of his speeches in his pocket when he tried to get assassinated, and the paper slowed down the bullet and stopped him from dying. So there's another fun fact there. So always carry a big stack of papers for your speeches. But no, I get why he did have a lot of contributions. If there was a Roosevelt that I want to meet, I think it would be FDR rather than him, because it's also well known he was kind of a jerk too.
Yes.
But for FDR, it was amazing. How did you not put him on there? He couldn't walk, but
he couldn't stand up to my standards.
Oh, low blow. Good job. But anyways, I'm not going to poop on your parade. Next time, I'm going to put FDR, and I'm going to explain why he's so awesome.
Okay.
All right, number 1 for me. Ba-bing! I want to meet King Solo.
Before or after his hair got cut?
What? King Solomon.
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever even read the Bible? Gee whiz. Three times. Holy, you're talking about Samson. Mm-hmm. He wasn't even a king.
I know.
You need to go to Sunday school.
I need a nap.
No. You need to go to Sunday school. We're not going to harp on that.
I don't believe in that. I'm a Christian.
You're not going to the kingdom. Anyways, King Solomon. He's in the scriptures.
He's the essence Shazam,
He is the essence of Shazam, the wisdom of Solomon. And that's why I want to chill with him. I mean, if you read the books that he wrote in the Bible, like they're just chock full of wisdom. They're one of them is literally called Proverbs. They're chock full of Proverbs. Man, I don't know. He's just, what I've heard about him is the wisest man that we know of that ever lived. I don't know how true that is. There may have been others since him. We're not sure. Because the way humankind works is we build on the knowledge, or we're supposed to build on the knowledge and the understanding of the previous generation. So hopefully in time there has been somebody who was wiser than him. But for the context of this, I would love to sit with him. He had something like 1,000 concubines and like 600 wives. I mean, for that alone, I need to know his secret. I mean, come on. How in the world did you manage that,
well,
big
king,
guy?
So,
listen, there's only 365 days in a year. Even if you do 2 a day, even if you pull 2 a days, there's no way you're going to get through that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this guy must have had the...
Cocaine's a heck of a drug.
I don't know if they had that back then, but he was chewing on some kind of tea leaf or something. But no, so like, not. But I mean, obviously the carnal side, he was one of the richest men that have ever lived. So there's obviously that, but just the way he is talked about and revered in the scriptures, the way when you read the scriptures that he wrote, and it's like it all goes back to like the vanity and vexation of spirit, all is vanity. And then when you really look at life, you're like, dang, that is vain too. Wait, that's vanity too. Gee whiz, he was right. Everything is vanity. Like we brush our hair because it's vanity. We brush our teeth because it's vanity. We buy cars because it's vanity. Like everything we do is somehow vanity. Mm-hmm. And for somebody to come to that conclusion, like way back then, you're like, man, that is true. Everything really is. So I wonder what else he knows. It's kind of like a Nikola Tesla kind of deal. Like, I just want to pick his brain and just talk to him and be like, hey, how'd you get to that conclusion? Right. Like, you know, where'd that come from, you know? And how'd you make your money? You know, all that good stuff, you know? And you're the product of, basically, I mean, he's a product of murder. His biological father killed the man who his mother was married to just so he could, you know, sleep with her. I'm like, dang, man, like, you know, let's talk about that. How do you feel about that, you know? So, you know, I just want to talk to him. I think it would be awesome to meet King Solomon, and hopefully he'll give me some money, too. So, there's that. What about you? Who's your numero uno?
My numero uno would be Stanley. A man that has much wisdom because he made it all up. He made all of that possible, lots of that possible.
His name is not Stanley. His name is Stan Marshowitz or something like that.
Don't care. He also knew enough to not make that his whole name.
He's responsible for him.
Yep. And again, let's weigh the good with the bad. He made all that. He apparently stole some of that and put his name on it.
Right.
But the positivity he spread throughout all of these was fantastic. I mean, X-Men was a straight riff on the civil rights movement that was happening at the time.
Right.
And lots of white people wouldn't pay attention to that necessarily, but if you compare what was happening in the comics to what was happening in real life, it was a pretty good mirror.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit fuzzy, but so he played his own parts in the civil rights movement.
Right.
Trying to educate, trying to put out something to help other people with their implicit bias, maybe, and saying, hey, you know, if these guys are suffering like these guys are suffering, maybe
relatable.
You should pull your head out of your butt and not hate these people just because other groups do. Right.
X-Men too. It's kind of it's a rift on everything. But I mean, to be the guy who puts the fly in the ointment, I wonder how much of that was he genuinely felt something for the civil rights movement, and how much of it was like, man, I have writer's block right now. And then he sees like Martin Luther King in their debate, you know, with Malcolm X, and he's like, that's a good storyline. You know, they're different perspectives on doing what's right. Nobody. This is not written or recorded. Nobody knows right or wrong. But I just wonder how much of that was genuinely like, you know what, I want to highlight this, and how much of it was just like, that's a fantastic story, and I can make that work. You know,
I think realistically, both.
Yeah.
Just like we've taken stuff that's semi-modern or semi-current to our conversations and included it in.
Right.
He probably did the same thing.
Right.
It may have come months later or years later. Right. But I bet that organically it sifted into and through his ideas.
Right.
And the whole team, not just his ideas, but the whole team of Marvel.
Right.
Because, you know, he may have stolen the ideas, but they were still part of his team.
Right. Well, like you can't say stolen when somebody's the editor, and even if you come up with the original idea, but if I put everything else with it, I mean, it's dual credit. You know what I mean? And if my name will sell more than your name will, why wouldn't we use my name? Does that make any sense?
No, it makes sense to me totally.
So I get what you're saying, stolen, but when you actually look at some of the stuff, it's kind of like, well, what did you expect to happen? Like, you come up with a concept, I make it better.
Well, it's kind of like working as a chef for a hotel. You can come up with all the dishes in the world, but you work for that hotel, so anything you create is their property.
Exactly.
Same type of thing.
Exactly. That happens all the time in the cooking world, actually.
Yeah.
When you work underneath a chef, if and some of them are kind of cool. They'll tell you, like, if I put this on my menu, it's my thing now. It's not yours. And some of them will just be like, well, no, I'm not going to put it out there then,
Yep.
So I don't know. It kind of sucks because you see that happen in so many industries. You see it happen in the music industry, where labels will do that. Like if you write the song, but because they're distributing it, they own it now.
Or the fact that I don't remember his name, but he's the actual writer for hundreds of number ones, from Taylor Swift to rock bands to country singers, and nobody knows him.
Right.
But if it wasn't for him, none of these people would have gone anywhere.
And he gets like pennies on the dollar compared to what they get, and that really.
And he's happy though.
Yeah,
he's not at all disenfranchised because he made his deal. Yeah. He sold it for what and he's cool with that. And I got to be cool with that. But if it wasn't for him doing it, and same thing with Stan Lee, if it wasn't for his artists doing what they did their way, he wouldn't have got as popular.
That's Chris Stapleton. Your Tennessee whiskey. Mm-hmm. That was him.
Yeah,
he was the writer. And he was putting it out. He was making all these people money, and he said he got tired because people, when you're a writer and you put it out there, people get to change it to whatever their style is. You just give them the basics, like what happened with him. They give Stanley the basics, and then he takes it to whatever he wants it to be. And he got tired of people making his stuff sound differently than he wanted it. So he's like, I'll just do it. And now he's like, I don't know how he's been winning so many awards, lately because he's that guy, and he was right to some extent. He was right to keep it that way. If some of those guys and some of them did leave and say, I want my comics to still keep my flair and all that stuff. Most of them ended up reverting back to
they
Marvel.
Either jumped ship DC and tried their flair over there and came. It's a tangled web.
Yeah, but he was just when you look at just the MCU and stuff that he inspired,
he influenced.
Yeah, that he was like the catalyst for. I mean, I don't even know how many billions all that stuff is worth now, but just his ideas and what he made better. The stuff he made better, like we were talking about with a chef. Somebody gives you the raw ingredients, the chef adds mint to it, and now it's a totally different flavor. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of the same thing, and it's so much better because of him. So I respect your list, and I hope you respect mine.
Absolutely.
If you liked it, like, subscribe, share,
and come back for part 3 because we'll be talking about our top 5 favorite events that we'd like to go visit.
Roll that beautiful music.
Roll
the music.
Peace. We're out.
Roll that beautiful music. That's our catchphrase now. Roll that